continuing the topic of pragmatic leadership. So we have completed the introduction chapter last time in the previous sessions, getting into the subject of pragmatic leadership. Trying to understand what do you mean by pragmatic leadership is all about, and why one should pursue the leadership career. Now we will get into the second chapter, which is essentially talking about the hypothesis whether leaders are born or developed. I think it's very important for discussing this subject of pragmatic leadership further. We need to agree on some of the theories, because everything that we are going to build upon is going to depend on the understanding of some of the basic theories. So let us look at what do you mean by a theory. So only human beings can make choices, which I spoke about it in the previous sessions. That rest of the creations, basically animals or plants, etc., they are just living based on the instincts and they cannot make specific choices. But whereas human beings are more evolved kind of a species, we are empowered to make choices. So a theory is something where we are not very sure about something, but the various results are showing that there is something exists. Like for example, the very idea of God principle, human beings believe there is somebody called God above, itself is a theory. Because anything which is not proven 100% like an experiment in a laboratory, it remains as a theory. If you look at the whole formation of scientific inventions, or everything is based on a theory. So for example, atomic theory. So someone felt that the every creation is made up of something called an atom, which is nothing but the smallest particle of any matter. And then it is again revolving inside, there are electrons, protons and whatnot. So we cannot probably see with our five senses the electrons and protons as it is being described in the atomic theory. But there are certain assumptions are made, and then their theory is formulated that this is the way it should be. And then the theory is being tested for its manifestation in the form of certain results. And then we conclude that this theory must be right. So it still remains as a theory forever, but the application of it and the results are being favorable to us when we are making those kind of assumptions. Like for example, Issac Newton felt that the light is traveling in the form of corpuscular theory, what they called it that time. That means light is made up of certain particles which are moving like bullets in a straight line, and then it goes and hits on something and converted in the form of light energy and so on. That's the theory basically. Making assumptions, the light is made out of particles and then it is traveling in a straight line, but it will not go in a curvilinear path, is a theory. That's what Isaac Newton felt. And by various experiments he was trying to prove that his theory is right. But there is another scientist who came who is called Young. He conducted various other experiments and proved that light is not traveling in a straight line, it is going in a curvilinear path. So certain scientific experiments by which diffraction of light and then interference of light are some of the two experiments by which Young proved that light is moving in the form of a wave. That means it goes in a curvilinear path, like a sine wave that electricity is believed to be flowing. So still today the light is not fully understood, whether it is a particle or whether it is a wave or whether it's a straight line and so on. But the application of those theories are being used in many other ways of human beings using them for their benefits. So that means a theory will continue to exist as a theory because it is not fully proven, as I gave an example of theory of light, or theory of electricity, or theory of God, or whatever you call it. There will be a lot of assumptions made. Based on those beliefs, the building blocks are made in top of them as a foundation. So why are we discussing this? Because in the context of leadership is essentially somebody is taking the responsibility of visualizing the future and then believing that something can be created which doesn't exist, and then they can mobilize all the resources and the people in order to achieve those kind of a future is what essentially leadership is all about. So that means we can make an assumption that one theory can be that the people who are behaving like leaders are all born because their DNA is having those kind of qualities and behavioral aspects and so on and so forth. This is one aspect of belief. We can call it as theory number one. And the theory number two is no, the people are born with equal opportunities. Maybe their IQ may be different to different degrees, but they can develop their own self to manifest these kind of leadership qualities. So as long as the human beings exist and can think, that these theories will continue to be there. But one important aspect is whatever theory we believe, that theory will work for us. So we believed on atomic theory, so atom bombs are produced and atomic energy is generated. But even today it remains as a theory and it is evolving. So we believe in the principle of God, and for those people who are believers as religious people or whatever call it, it works for them. There are people who don't believe God and they are atheists, and then for them also it works for them. So at the end of the day, whatever is our belief, that is what will manifest in our life. If you think that you can make a good progress in your life, you will make a good progress. If you believe that you are born as a failure, then you will continue to be a failure. So it's extremely important in the context of pragmatic leadership that are we favoring the theory that the people are born as leaders and we are not one today. That means we have no choice of becoming a leader in our life. The other theory is believing that leadership qualities are something which can be understood and can be developed, like going to a gym and building your muscles and so on. So based on the kind of theory that we believe, that's what will work for us. So in the context of pragmatic leadership, I favored the theory that leaders are developed. That means anyone can groom themselves into leaders, which I am going to build this topic in greater detail as we go along. So for the time being, in the first chapter, subsequently, that is chapter 2, I have built the topic of this hypothesis that leaders are developed. So it's very important to appreciate that when we start anything, that we start with the theory and then we look into the methodologies and then we look into the various tools and techniques that we can use. So that means everything starts with the belief, which is nothing but the theory. So I hope that the second chapter started with the presumption that the hypothesis is the leader can be developed. On those basis, we will build subsequent discussions that what are those qualities, what are those behavior and how we can develop and so on. I hope the session is going well for you. And thank you very much for your valuable feedback so far, and look forward to share with you some more details of this book. God bless you. Take care.